True crime has evolved so much over the years, with roots as far back as 1889. The grandfather of the true crime genre was considered to be a Scottish lawyer called William Ruffhead. He wrote and published several essays over 6 decades about notable British murder trials that he attended. In the year 2000, many of these essays were collected and published in the popular book Classic Crimes. This is one of the first, that I can find at least, examples of true crime for public consumption. However, at the time that these essays were published by Ruffhead, these collections of essays were used for educational purposes, as Ruffhead was a well-known Scottish lawyer and what some regarded as an amateur criminologist. It's only in the year 2000 that these essays were then published for the public to consume as entertainment. For years we have seen crime played out on television. Most notably, people will remember the O.J. Simpson trial of 1995. This trial was such a cultural phenomenon at the time that the Kardashian family name that we have all come to know and loathe, if you will, was first given its prestige due to Robert Kardashian's involvement as a volunteer assistant in the O.J. Simpson case. This trial was so prolific that even Netflix went as far as to make a drama series called The People vs. O.J. Simpson, with people such as Cuba Gooding Jr. and even Ross from Friends as cast members. The true crime boom of the mid to late 2010s is even more interesting to me, as it's an acknowledgement of a centuries-long obsession that people love true crime and gore and murder, as well as other brands of brutality, and they've gorged on them since the beginning of modern journalism. We as consumers have hoarded the gory details of the tabloids or the news, books, and nighttime dateline shows since the beginning of modern programming. Even the thrill of the 1938 War of the World radio broadcast, an adaptation of the book War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. The novel War of the Worlds was actually written in 1898 and became famous in 1938 for causing widespread panic among its audience, because the best type of horror is the horror of reality. So we can deduce that we as an audience love contained fear. That's why folklore stories and the horror genres, adaptations of the stories, have such a prominent place within the film industry. I mean, think about how much everybody loved The Woman in Black. But I question, why isn't fiction enough? Today, I want to talk about the problem with true crime and the ethics surrounding the genre as a whole and our unquenchable bloodthirst for it. I also want to discuss the hybrids of the true crime genre that has now found a nice little cushy home here on the internet. And I want to question, do we even need this? Should true crime be monetized? And if so, how can we here on YouTube and other media platforms contribute in a respectful and positive way? I have so many questions, so let's dissect them all in my video essay, The Deadly Problem with True Crime.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down
From Tiger King to Making a Murderer to even interviewing the exonerated alleged murderer Amanda Knox, Netflix has been the place to be when it comes to watching documentaries on true crime. In the age of social media, the invitation to question everything, or at least share your feelings and opinions on everything, has become the new normal. I think that true crime has become so mainstream due to viewing on demand and Google search culture that means, to an extent, We're all desktop detectives. The accessibility to information has made us way more involved when it comes to cold cases, with our objectives being to exonerate individuals that the justice system has failed. For instance, with Tiger King and Making a Murderer. Both of these series see protagonists left behind bars, and I say protagonists because that's exactly what they were. That's what it is in these true crime documentary series. Every story is a narrative with a hero and a villain, but that picture is painted entirely by the filmmaker and the show's producers. The problem is that they are a part of the same emotionally charged, participation-based media culture. By asking us, the audience, to help decide the criminal guilt or innocence of an individual, or to help solve the case or mystery. The position that shows like this places on its viewers or listeners is to make them citizen detectives in the court of public opinion, to create a verdict of social justice. Our increased access to true crime gives us the illusion as viewers that we have a greater involvement, as we are able to like, comment, and share various posts about criminal cases. We have a convenience culture where Netflix, the streaming platform, is connected to the internet, where we can now binge our favorite true crime Netflix show and then scurry over to social media, podcasts, and YouTube to discuss the horrific events it is that we have just witnessed and to converse with others and like-minded individuals. We discuss true crime as if it's the latest episode of RuPaul's Drag Race. But even with the interactive nature of true crime, I believe that many shows exercise manipulation of its viewers. We all as viewers can easily become immersed in a true crime series and binge watching the entire season whilst getting that oh so sweet dopamine hit of hitting watch next episode. Side note, don't you just hate when YouTube says, "Are you still there?" Yes, of course I'm still there. I'm lonely. Leave me alone. The ultimate aim of a true crime docu-series is to capture the audience's attention, and they do that with their use of cliffhangers, so we watch more. In 2021, Netflix made approximately $30 billion, and the Netflix true crime series American Murderer: The Family Next Door amassed over 52 billion views within its first month. So it's clear that true crime makes a lot of money for Netflix. But is there something to be said about making that much money from true crime? And is Big Bucks True Crime administering ethical practices? An article written by Melissa Chan details one family's experience when dealing with Netflix for a true crime series, and even begging them not to include their story. It reads, Mindy Pendleton panicked when she learnt that her stepson's murder would be featured on a true crime docuseries on Netflix. Her stomach churned in the days leading to the debut of the show, which Pendleton worried would glorify the killer who strangled her 28-year-old Robert Mast in 2015 as he sat in a car in a Walmart parking lot. This was my greatest fear, says Pendleton, 64, who helped raise Mast from when he was a toddler, and who still has marks on the wall from her home showing his height through the years. The last mark was when Mast was 18, and is 5'11" off the ground. When Netflix asked for Mast's families and friends in February of 2019 to participate in the series I Am a Killer, those closest to him pleaded with producers to abandon the project, saying that it was inhumane to sell a documentary at the emotional expense of a grieving family. As a parent, a fellow human being, I beg you not to do this, Pendleton wrote in the first of many emails to producers, which she shared with Time. Please don't do this. But on January 31st, Netflix released the second season of its show to more than 60 million US subscribers, leading it with the episode Dealing Mast's Murder. In the first 5 minutes, the viewers are introduced to Lindy Horgan, the woman who pleaded guilty for murdering Mast from a Montana prison, where she is serving a 60-year sentence. The occasionally tearful Horgan recounts her years in an abusive relationship before she met and fell hard for Mast in 2015. 26 days later, he was dead. Far from Portraying Horgan as a vicious killer, the episode casts her in a relatively sympathetic light. And at a time when police chiefs, politicians, and the media are often refusing to name mass killers to deny them fame, I Am a Killer takes the opposite tact. In her confession to the police, Horgan casts herself as having acted out of a deep love for Mast, saying that she put him in a chokehold and held her hand over his nose and mouth after he insisted that he wanted to die. But in the same interview, which was recorded by police and included in the episode, she flippantly tells a detective that she wanted to see what it felt like to kill someone with her bare hands. The police say that Mast was so drunk that he was unable to fight back, and by the end of February, I Am a Killer had landed on Netflix's list of top 10 most watched shows of the day in America, positioning it to be renewed for a third season. When we continue to give numbers to these shows, they keep making them, says Mast's sister, who along with Mast's father, brother and friends and other siblings refuse to take part in the series. And the real people living real lives get re-traumatized every time. The issue here with the horrifying account here between the mother and the sister of the victim and the conversations between them and Netflix is that the families of these real victims don't have the rights to the story. They don't have the intellectual property to their own experience, their own very real story. I believe that as viewers, we are fascinated with what drives somebody to murder and with the prospect that there could be a killer inside of all of us. That desire to learn what drives somebody to murder is probably far more fascinating than listening to the voices of the victims and the victims' families. To listen to their story would mean that we would have to be confronted with the harsh reality of having to lose somebody in such an awful way. And many of these Netflix shows don't focus on that because the exciting account of the killer's motive is far more thrilling. And Netflix knows this. That's why they disregarded the family of the victim's requests. But further to that, my question is true crime making us more desensitized to murder? The podcast genre of true crime has seen a boom in the 2000s, with Serial and My Favorite Murderer being two of the favorites amongst listeners. So let's start with Serial. Serial is one of the more informative forms of true crime in podcast form and is hosted by Sarah Koenig, who is a US journalist. Serial started in 2014 and uses some of the same practices as Netflix as they unfold one particular true crime story over a series of episodes, each episode ending in a cliffhanger. Season 1 investigated the 1999 murder of Hae Ming Lee, an 18-year-old student of Woodlawn High School in Baltimore. Her corpse was discovered on February 9th in Leakin Park and then was subsequently identified a few days later. Her case was immediately treated as a homicide. On February 12th, an anonymous source came forward and notified police authorities that somebody they identified as Adnan Masood Saeed, Lee's ex-boyfriend, could have been the suspect. Saeed was arrested on February 28th and charged with first-degree murder, which led to, and quote, some closure and peace for the Lee family. You need to know about the closure and peace for what I'm about to tell you. The success of the podcast led to many listeners talking amongst themselves to be armchair detectives and then going forth and contacting the Lee family to clarify some things for them. Now, not only is this a complete and utter invasion of the family's privacy, but also it's completely disgusting and morally wrong. After several episodes of Serial streaming on podcasting platforms, Hae's brother came forward and then went forth and told Reddit users of the Serial subreddit that what they were doing was reprehensible and that the podcast series itself was lacking in moral integrity. Here are a couple of excerpts of what Hae Ming Lee's brother had to say. However, I will be leaving the full link to the Reddit post in the description box down below. It reads as follows. To you listeners, it's another murder mystery, crime drama, another episode of CSI. You weren't there to see your mom crying every night, having a heart attack when she got the news that her body was found, and going to court almost every day for a year, seeing your mother weeping, crying, and fainting. You don't know what we went through, especially those of you who are demanding a family response and having a meetup. You guys are disgusting. Shame on you. I pray you never have to go through what we went through and have your story blasted to 5 million listeners. Now, I'll leave the full Reddit post for you guys to hear, but you can literally hear like the pain in this guy's writing, as he appears to be re-traumatized by the fact that his sister's death has now become once again public spectacle for people to poke holes in and theorize. It must be said though that in 2014 there was a picture that was floating around on the internet that appears to be an email or a transcript of some kind of the serial podcast host Sarah Koenig reaching out to Hae-Min Lee's brother prior to when it aired. However, it's not been confirmed whether this receipt is real, not even by Sarah herself. Anyway, season 1 of Serial was never taken down. It's still syndicated across multiple streaming platforms, so it's safe to say that Sarah Koenig is making a hell of a lot of money from the first season of Serial. She's still actively making money from those episodes, despite knowing exactly how the Lee family feel about it. Okay, so then let's move on to my favorite murder. My favorite murder is a bi-weekly true crime podcast hosted by American comedians Karen Kilgariff and Georgia Hardstark. The first episode was released in January of 2016, and the podcast, upon its release, debuted at number 25 on the iTunes podcast charts and peaked at number 3 on the 27th of April 2018. Weekly episodes regularly land itself on the comedy podcast charts. You can see where I'm going with this. And as of 2020, the podcast gets 35 million downloads per month. But my favorite murder, however, is not even attempting to be educational, informative, or even compassionate. With their slogan of politeness, that has now become somewhat of an ethos for them and their brand and their audience, who they affectionately call murderinos. That slogan, amongst others, is plastered all over their merchandise, and the show's official fan group is called the Fan Cult. Now, whilst if this was any other influencer calling their crew a cult, probably wouldn't raise eyebrows or anything like that. However, considering a lot of what they talk about is true crime, mystery, and sometimes they delve into murderous cults and things of the like, so it's kind of weird to me because on one hand it's clearly an ironic title, but on the other hand it's somewhat of a casual mocking of people who have been in, know people who are in, who have been negatively affected by extremist cults. In their podcast, they have a section that some would say would be a conclusion, and they call it Hooray, where the host closed the show with something positive that's either happened in their lives or a witty anecdote or even viewer submissions.
What is your hooray? Or do you want me to go first?
I mean, look at my piece of paper. Oh, just the word hooray.
Oh yeah, that's all you wrote. Mine's really dumb and simple.
Okay.
There's a big giant spider outside my window, and I'm proud of her, and I love watching her build her web, and she's one of the most humongous things I've ever
How big? Show me with your hand.
She's like that.
Oh my god, like a silver dollar?
I don't know.
Is that legs included or just the body?
With legs like that.
Jesus Christ.
She's enormous. Everyone in Australia is rolling their eyes at us right now.
I know.
The problem with Hooray is that it allows the viewers to believe that the minor pleasures of life or enjoying a witty anecdote at the end of something traumatic and tremendously difficult to deal with counteracts the loss of life or systemic violence. They end each episode with the slogan, "Stay sexy and don't get murdered." Now, whilst this is a great catchphrase and extremely memorable, why did I say that like that? Memorable. It's also a catchphrase that casually places the responsibility of safety onto the victims themselves. And whilst I don't believe that the comedians are intentional with the ramifications of their wording, I think it's important to note that they say this after detailing the horrendous, horrific, gory details of a very real murder. My worry is that it reminds me of when you see a horror. You know that moment like when you watch a horror movie that like scares the absolute living out of you, and then you have to like watch a couple of episodes to SpongeBob just like to calm down, something a little bit more light-hearted to help you sleep. That feeling of the happy little tidbit at the end of the podcast allows the viewer to leave without really having to acknowledge the magnitude of the horrific events they've just listened to. But the victims and the family of the victims don't ever really get to experience such relief. So it can feel somewhat selfish and self-serving to consume true crime in such a way. So we have spoken about true crime on streaming websites. We've also spoken about true crime on podcasts, but what about here on YouTube? Are we handling things ethically? Well, on the 5th of December 2017, Shane Dawson released a video titled "My Friend Got Life in Prison." Now, from the jump, this was not a friend of Shane Dawson. This was somebody that Shane Dawson knew. An acquaintance, if you will. An associate. Some guy he may have spoken to once or twice. And this friend ended up getting life in prison because they killed their uncle and then tried to discard of the body by trying to burn it. Anyway, the friend pleaded guilty and is now serving life in prison. Now, on the surface, this seems like an interesting premise for a video, does it not? As long as it's handled compassionately and tactfully. But this is Shane Dawson, the same person who wanted to diagnose Jake Paul as a sociopath in order to have a storyline for a documentary that he was producing, so we know it wasn't. He begins talking about his personal encounter with the friend and how he was always nice to him and always had good grades. And then he goes on to show a video of Kyle pretending to kill somebody with a finger gun for a video project that Shane Dawson had done in his senior year.
Well, my final video that I made in my senior year had Kirk in it. So this video was about dictatorship and what would happen if I turned into a dictator and ruled the school. Now the video's been copyright striked, so there's no audio, but basically here's what happens. So me as the dictator tells Kirk, "You will be the incentives man if one disobeys you," and then he says something like, "Beat them up," or something. And then I say, "I was thinking more like, kill them." Which is so crazy considering what happened in the future. And then in the video, he actually kills someone. He takes his fingers and then puts it to her neck. And then somebody pushes him and she dies. And now that guy, that same guy, is in jail for murder. Do you see why this with me?
Now imagine, out of all of the motives it is that you have to create a video titled "My Friend Got Life in Prison," exploiting a clip of the murderer friend where he points a finger gun at another student and saying, "Ooh, that's spooky," whilst you were dressed up as Hitler, was it? That was the motive. I cannot. I literally cannot. I'm trying my best to be neutral here, but what the f***? Anyway, Shane makes it clear throughout of this video that the family did not respond to his request to having him involved in creating the video, but he continues anyway and broadcasts it to what is essentially now almost 17 million viewers. He then goes on to take the viewers along on his investigation, which is essentially contacting a bunch of people on Facebook. And that's the end of part 1. Part 2 seems to me just to be a nostalgic walk down memory lane, hanging out with an old classmate where they continue to crack jokes at the expense of the victim and the victim's family. It's all at their expense.
Oh my god, that's a church that we got kicked out of. We got kicked out for playing the penis game.
Why'd you do that at church?
I was dealing with my bisexuality. Leave me alone. So the house I grew up in is right there. Oh my god, all my inner demons still live there. Let's burn down the house.
Are you gonna be honest with him about why you're here? Are you gonna elaborate?
We're here to burn down the school, or we're not doing that? Oh, okay. Change of plans.
He never changed his hair. He always wore some sort of polo, I feel like, and like khaki shorts. He just looked the same to me every single day, every single year. There was never, even you who kind of changed her hair. Do you not remember that?
I was just thinking I'd do the same thing.
If he kills me in 5 years, literally wears the same thing every day. Every day.
Maybe I'm in the Christian life category. Definitely not that. Closer. There we are. Oh my god!
Should we spread them out?
Perfect. I love a supportive boyfriend.
What were we most likely since we didn't get voted?
Most likely to... I mean, I know he technically did it, but I think I'm most likely to kill somebody. Like, keep it real.
I promise you that the clip segments it is that I just showed you is not taken out of context. That is literally the gist of the entire video. He also then goes on to do a quick RIP and a couple more jokes.
A thumbnail of us really uncomfortably looking at each other
Okay.
over a plate of food. So I think the vibe is like I never knew. Like, just like a little confused,
And then that's it. He's out. So after that quick little bit of exploitation, Shane Dawson goes back to regularly scheduled content. But he never got any permission at all. He never helped solve anything or create any kind of clarity at all. So my question was, what was the reason? The only person who gained from discussing this whole entire thing was Shane Dawson, and the effects of it could have potentially re-traumatized people around the victim's family, as well as the murderer. The reality of murder on the families is much more traumatizing, sobering, and messier than what was projected by Shane. Behind the millions of views of Shane Dawson's coverage of the crime, there are the people who are living with the murder bereavement on a daily basis. And an intrusive social media circus can sometimes compound the original trauma. Shane Dawson treated this small moment in his life as a good story, whilst in tandem he made this family's very private grief public property. The problem is that when you are reporting on an incident or a murder against the wishes of family members, the effects of it can actually be just as devastating as the murder itself. Now hear me out. Following Shane pressing public on a video about the murder, that murder itself can then be defined as the definitive account of events, because Shane Dawson essentially opened up the entire world to possibly a murder that they'd never heard of before. So many of us as viewers, including myself, our first recollection of murder will only be the version of murder seen through Shane Dawson's video. But the sad thing is, for as apparent and condemnable as Shane Dawson has proven himself to be in more recent years, he's definitely not alone. Okay, so now we are getting into the crux of it all, the true crime hybrids. True crime as a genre has formed a very strong position here on YouTube within the YouTube ecosystem. Content creators such as Loie Lane, Kendall Ray, Eleanor Neal have become some of the top 5% of YouTube content creators in general, with a platform of millions and millions of subscribers. Now I have to say this, I am not a true crime fan here on YouTube. I am just not that interested in hearing somebody else rehash an already known true crime. In fact, many of you guys have requested that I do true crime here on this channel, and I did think about it for a short period of time because I am somewhat interested in true crime. But when researching the true crime community and seeing some of the top players, I absolutely died of boredom listening to somebody else rehash the same shit. I personally like my true crime in documentary format. That's just me. So I may be somewhat removed from the genre, as well as being that little extra bit hypercritical because of the standard of highbrow true crime it is that I like to consume, which, as we discussed previously, can have exactly the same amounts and levels of negative ramifications. So this isn't me saying that I'm better than you, far from it. We're all garbage, we're all trash, okay? But I have a theory. My theory is that the true crime it is that we have here on YouTube is derivative of the story time generation. I say this because during my research, almost all I say almost, but almost all of the content creators who have moved into the true crime genre were storytime YouTubers or have done storytimes at one point in their YouTube career, which makes sense because to be a good true crime creator, you have to be a great storyteller. But from that, we now have the hybrid channels: true crime and makeup, true crime and ASMR, true crime and mukbangs. There is a mix of true crime and some other subculture everywhere here on YouTube.
7-year-old Charisse Iverson and her 14-year-old brother are just kind of like trotting around, hanging out at this prima donna casino. I don't know, I guess I saw something say that it was like more of a resort. Their father was, I think, upstairs.
The most popular at this moment in time is true crime and makeup, which was popularized, not originated, but popularized by Bailey Sarian or Siran. I've seen like 5 different people pronounce it different ways, so who knows. So Bailey Sarian has a YouTube series called Murder Mysteries and Makeup, or Triple M, where she essentially applies makeup whilst talking about true crimes. However, a lot of people have blasted Bailey in the past for her version of true crime storytelling being somewhat inappropriate. However, one viewer of Bailey told ID magazine in an interview, and quote, "Learning about these awful crimes while watching someone do their makeup is a little bit more palatable as opposed to a regular true crime documentary." She tells ID that the makeup isn't there to be promoted, it evidently acts as a buffer. But is somebody else's gruesome murder supposed to be palatable? Isn't it selfish to want your true crime diluted in a way that doesn't become upsetting or affect you, when essentially that's the reality of the victims and the victims' families involved? I mean, I personally don't see an issue with consuming your true crime in this manner. I mean, could it be more victim-centered like Kendall Ray and Loie Lane's content? I mean, yeah, sure. Because long after the media or social media's attention to a story dwindles, there are real people who have to face the reality of what happened. But my biggest issue is how unregulated true crime on YouTube is. There isn't a standard of ethical practice or a code of conduct that must be followed in the same way that documentaries or docu-series have to adhere to. People are free to talk about true crime in whatever way they see fit and exploit it for monetary gain. And again, I question whether we are monetizing someone's traumatic death or a family's horrendous pain. This isn't the same as discussing some frivolous drama online. This is fatality. This is human grief long after the content creator shuts off the camera and moves on to the next story. Bailey's videos exploded in the pandemic. Her 1 million subscriber channel, which is quite a large feat, then boosted to 6 million subscribers. But long before the pandemic, the demand for the true crime genre literally sparked film festivals, an annual convention called Crime Con, and Crowd Solve, which is a Crime Con spin-off event where amateur sleuths can try their best to solve cold cases. It sounds crazy, but more than 3,000 people signed up from over 12 countries, and the tickets were $1,500 to attend. And that was in 2019, which is up 1,000 people from 2017. So it's clear there is big money in true crime. I mean, shit, even myself, during the pandemic, me and my husband got completely bored and decided to do one of those, you know, like those murder mystery solve the case things, where you have clues and details and videos to watch, and you're supposed to solve the mystery together at home. Of course, these are fake cases, but we did that too out of sheer boredom. But where is it that we can question money over morality? Is leaving affiliate links to the makeup used in your description really helpful? Especially on top of the 5 to 6 figures it is that you make from your content monthly? I don't know. The other issue is that content creators such as Bailey are making content literally weekly, which means that sometimes they get things wrong, which can be hindrances to the cases themselves, as we as an audience will watch a video and make sweeping judgments of what we just witnessed based on the information it is that we had relayed to us by a content creator. And with no regulation and with the audience's hunger for true crime growing, that causes a much bigger problem than money. And speaking of hunger, okay, so this is where I'm going to get completely unfiltered. Out of all of the various different hybrids of true crime content, Stephanie SOO is by far the worst. It is the most disrespectful way to discuss true crime, and honestly, how anyone can watch this kind of content is beyond me. I was actually triggered to make this video after seeing Stephanie SOO cover the Lauren Smith Fields case. Now, if you aren't aware of the Lauren Smith Fields case, essentially, Lauren Smith Fields is a young lady, a young black lady, a person of color who went on a date from somebody that she met from Bumble. They met, hung out, and she was found dead. They let the guy go. He was not a suspect. Nobody notified the family, and it was just all round just a horrible, terrible situation. And unfortunately, the Lauren Smith Fields case is not one case alone. There are several cases of black individuals just passing away, dying, disappearing under strange circumstances, and the police, the judicial system, doing little to nothing to either prevent that or do any digging into why these things happen. I mean, a lot of you guys will remember the Kenneka Jenkins situation and how she was found dead in a freezer. That completely swept the internet when I first started making content here on YouTube. Situations like Kenneka Jenkins, like this Lauren Smith Fields case, basically forces us as viewers to become armchair detectives and vigilantes because the judicial system simply is not doing anything to help. Anyway, with that being said, Stephanie SOO made a video about the Lauren Smith Fields case, but I have to say this, the reason that I don't like the video isn't because I hate mukbangs. I love mukbangs. I watch mukbangs as a pastime. I enjoy listening to people eat. My husband hates me doing that. He hates me listening to people eat or forcing him to listen to the sounds of chewing, but I love that shit. I will even watch ASMR mukbangs. Like, I love mukbangs. So mukbangs isn't the reason that I dislike her content. It is because of the blatant disrespect and confusion it is that she shows when producing her content. So let's take a look at the content, shall we? So first of all, we have the thumbnails. Sad face in the center. There are a bunch of different kinds of food and mukbang food it is that she is going to eat. And then whatever the story is about is the backdrop to the food. I just want you guys to notice that that is the similar theme, that the people involved in the various murder cases are the backdrop to the food it is that she's going to be into. So the food is the focus. I feel like that's obvious, right? Because even her banner says, Stephanie SOO, food is my jam. It's not even true crime is my jam, considering that's like what literally all of her videos are about, talking about various true crimes. She don't care, she cares about food. I'm sorry, I'm getting really upset, but I'm genuine about this. This shit pisses me off. Okay, so let's go ahead and read some of the titles, shall we? Did he have a sick fantasy or was it something more sinister? Cheesy span cups, must be, and ramen mukbang. Girl, what? Are you serious right now? The fake kidnapping of the Hill family. What really happened? Giant chicken leg and pasta mukbang. He killed his girlfriend for saying his ex's name. Hot Cheeto Hot Pocket mukbang. He was dying in the interrogation room. How did nobody notice? Tangaloo Mochi and fruit mukbang. The serial killer that's trapped in a glass box for 25 years. Fried chicken and waffle cones mukbang. Why was his foot and head detached? Question mark. Sketchy body in the barn case. Giant McRib mukbang. The body in the well. 2 hitmen were hired to kill each other. Cheesy crawfish seafood boil mukbang. Head in the freezer. She ate her husband for Thanksgiving meal. Spiny lobster seafood mukbang. Underground organization. Stole 3 brothers. Missing skeleton brothers. Exploding garlic noodles mukbang. I mean, okay, so let's take a look at the video that actually got me triggered. The Lauren Smith Fields case. Okay, so the video is called The Mysterious Death After a Bumble Date. Case of Lauren Smith Fields, Mexican and Berea food mukbang. Woo! So let's get it started. I've put it at 1.5 speed because I know what's about to happen, but I'm not going to make you enjoy it all, so let's do it.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and today we are back with another mukbang. So today I'm really excited because all of this is happening because I was craving some ceviche and some churros, but we have a whole feast. We've got birria tacos, we've got churros, a Spanish paella with shrimp, mussels. We've got some dessert over here, including a tres leches and a chocolate tart with some fruit and some sauces. We've got a, I believe this is a barbacoa nacho. We've got a birria beef quesadilla, ceviche, and the world's spiciest salsa. It doesn't even look that spicy. You know what? It looks orange. It doesn't even look red. But I took the lid off of this and just a little bit, I thought I was gonna pass out. I thought I was gonna die. This was the world's craziest thing ever. But before we get started, I just want to tell you about something. Where's your phone? Are you like, oh my god, where is my phone? Are you watching this on your phone? You know, your phone is so important to you. Have you ever thought about that? Like, you use it nonstop. It's got all of your important details. Imagine a day without your phone. It might be really hard, right? Yeah. So why would you just willy-nilly?
Are we talking about Lauren yet? No? 1 minute 14? Okay, let's keep going.
Some random case on your phone and thinking, you know what, it'll be fine. What if you drop it? What if you're texting on it and someone bumps into you and it goes flying in the air and it's like slow motion and you're like, no! I would never, okay, because I use Casetify phone cases for my phone. Yes, today's video is sponsored by Casetify. I wish they made cases for your car, cases for your house, because I would put anything valuable in a Casetify case. I trust it so much. Casetify's Impact and Ultra Impact cases, they're new ones. They're made out of 65% recycled material, so you can feel good about the protection that you're getting. But it doesn't mean that they compromise any of that strength, okay? Because their Impact cases have dual layers.
Okay, so I'm not going to stop or knock somebody for their hustle. A sponsor's a sponsor, and some channels thrive on it, especially channels speaking about very dark content. I'd consider this dark content, so for me personally, I'm not going to begrudge the sponsor, so let her do what it is that she needs to do. I'm sure she's going to talk about it immediately after.
That Chi-Tech technology, meaning that you can drop it from 6.6 feet in the air, and their Ultra Impact cases, they have those bumpers on the side. You can drop it from 9.8 feet in the air, which I honestly have to go out of my way to try to do something like that. I love everything about that, but I also love how cute Casetify phone cases are. Like, I know when I'm saying like, oh, super protective, world's most protective, you're thinking of like these ugly bricks that you put onto your new pretty phone, but it's not like that at all. They have thousands of designs. They have so many different colorways. You can customize it. Some of my favorite ones right now is this mirror case from Casetify with my little mango on there. You can customize it with your initials. You can even put a picture of you on there. I've got one that matches Van Dan's phone case. I have one that Casetify did a collab with KFC, and it's got just like fried chicken on there, and I love that one. I freaking love switching out my phone cases with my mood. And if you're like, wow, Stephanie, that's a lot, because what happens when you get a new phone case? Well, worry not. Casetify will take your old phone cases and recycle it to make brand new phone cases. On top of that, they're 100% non-toxic, non-hazardous, and they have an antimicrobial coating, which means it keeps your case germ-free. Like, it eliminates 99% of bacteria that lands on that baby. The fact that they work with like big brands like K-pop groups, but also like the Louvre and KFC, but they also work with like small designers, and I really appreciate that. Make sure to check the link in the description to check out Casetify, or go to casetify.com/bis. That's casetify.com/bis. Thank you, Casetify.
Okay, so sis is selling the absolute fuck out of this. She's selling it. Okay, do what you gotta do. Get those coins. Make sure that they want to keep sponsoring you, sis. I'm down for it. Let's go.
Casetify for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into the food. I don't know why I have to start with this churro.
I don't know why, but I'm gonna start with this one.
I don't know why.
Oh, okay, I guess I'll take that one. No, it's gonna do it.
Alright.
Yeah, I'll try one of these too. Then you gotta dip in the...
Let's do it, guys.
Oh my god.
Holy moly.
Whipped cream on the churro.
Okay, so then we have the camera guy, which I'm assuming is her partner, as well as Stephanie SOO and whoever her friend is, all sat there having a nice little tuck-in moment to some food. I'm sure in a moment they're going to be talking about this Lauren Smith Fields case. We are, what, 3 minutes and 49 seconds in? I'm sure they're going to talk about it soon. Yeah, let's hold out hope, guys.
With some caramel. Oh my god. That should be illegal. Okay, we got some sour cream I forgot to put on. Oh my gosh. And then we have some
It's not that spicy.
gallo.
Yeah, this is not spicy. Try the
not?
hot sauce. Give him a hot sauce.
It's perfect.
Oh yeah.
Let me try the hot sauce.
Here, dip it in this hot sauce. You're gonna
Give
die.
it like a full dip.
A full dip? You guys are crazy.
Alright,
Full dip, let's go.
I don't know about a full dip.
Look at that.
Oh, there's some guacamole here. Okay, let's
Ready?
do
do
this.
it. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, really get it soaked in. Okay, is it spicy?
It's good.
I caught dip on the restroom though.
Oh
No.
Okay,
Me first.
I did this much. Is that a lot?
No, it's not too bad. It's really good.
No, I actually like this sauce more.
It's a nice kick.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh.
It's delicious. Holy cow. I gotta try the guacamole.
What?
Guacamole is insane.
Kind of spicy now.
Oh my gosh. Let me try this quesadilla. But I don't know why. I'm normally a taco person, but this quesadilla was calling my name.
Oh, then try the churro.
How many minutes are we? 5 minutes and 35 seconds. And we're still not talking about the Lawrence Smithfield case. Okay, let's keep going.
Warm. It's so gooey.
I'm so happy right now.
Wow, the churro is so good.
Oh yeah, you want to try the churro?
Yeah.
What I've been craving this whole time, ceviche.
Is this caramel on top?
It's good. The caramel on top. Perfect.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Let me try this shrimp. Should I just dip it? I'm gonna dip everything.
Oh, wow.
Oh, should I dip it in the hot sauce?
Try the rice, guys.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
It's something
Can
else.
you help me with some rice?
Yeah.
It's like hands in.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Yeah, load the boat.
Wow.
Load it up. Thank you.
Let's
Okay.
go.
Let me see. Let me try to get this mussel out. I'm gonna load this little shell with rice.
Whoa.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Okay.
1 out of 10.
1 out of 10?
I mean, like from scale 1
Oh,
to 10.
I thought you meant you were rating the 1 out of 10.
No, this is
I was
a-
like, I'm in
bro.
heaven and you said a 1 out of 10?
This is.
He said, oh man, so,
This is
1
10
out of 10. I would say 10 out of 10.
I don't know. This is wow. Oh, let me try this.
Last bite and then I don't think I'll be eating the rest of today's video because I'm gonna get really riled up. And I know it, so let's try a chocolate tart.
7 minutes and 23 seconds. Sorry, 33 seconds. 7 minutes and 33 seconds and nothing to do with the case.
It's just a chocolate brick. I'm gonna put it right back, okay?
Is that good?
If you like just straight chocolate, you know?
I thought you liked that.
Okay, this is the tres leches cake. I'm gonna put it in some caramel, some whipped cream.
Dang, that looks good.
But the churros are bomb today.
Yeah, the churros is the best.
Yeah, I'm so confused. Now, today's case that I'm talking about, I saw on TikTok, and I didn't really want to talk about it because, I don't know, I guess
8 minutes and 12 seconds. 8 minutes and 12 seconds. 8 minutes and 12 seconds to talk about the Lawrence Smithfield case. That's 8 minutes and 12 seconds of a 40-minute video. So that's almost 25% of the entire video just eating and sponsors. Oh, and this isn't the only time that this happens. This is her format for every single video. So do you think that they stop eating whilst they're talking about all of these various different cases?
What?
And they couldn't trace the calls. And they stopped calling you,
That's
it seems.
crazy.
Yeah.
This is literally like a crazy mystery.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's gotta be the person, right? The stalker.
That's what I'm saying.
So whilst you can say that applying makeup whilst talking about a true crime is a very passive act, there's absolutely nothing passive about consuming a cheesy Dorito tower whilst talking about a minor who was allegedly kidnapped.
It's flaming hot Doritos with turkey, because I was like, you know what, turkey is healthier than beef. But like also a trash can of Doritos, nacho cheese, and some salsa, all baked into one. Now here's the thing, I baked it like a tray of nachos. I don't know if it's gonna work.
Whoa. You can do it. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Slowly.
I don't...
Whoa, let's go!
Whoa! Nobody notices him, because if they had, they would have alerted Mark and Brenda, and they would have done something about it. But that family barbecue would actually be the last day people see Mark, Brenda, and Slade alive.
By the way,
Yes.
this is my new favorite burger.
The truffle burger?
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I'm getting bougier.
You're getting bougier, he said.
This is really good. Truffle is my jam.
Or literally having somebody walk on screen and prepare fried milk croutons whilst you talk about a killer.
Wow, what a man, I tell ya.
Have you been working out?
Have you been?
Hey, honey.
Honey.
Oh, yo, that's nice. Chill.
Look at those muscles.
Look at that tattoo.
Look at those veins.
Bro.
So they're living inside of this house, in this garage apartment. They don't even get to live in the main house. I mean, it was completely unlivable.
It makes almost everything it is that you are talking about secondary to the food. From the thumbnails to the way that you present it, food always comes first. The family's grief, life lost, all secondary to the huge tower of onion rings covered in nacho cheese. In Western society, it's already deemed as disrespectful to talk with your mouth full. Now imagine doing that, but then to millions of people, whilst broadcasting the traumatic death of somebody else's loved one. The way that she speaks to her audience is almost like she's kikiing with a friend. And under any other content format, that would be totally acceptable. But when speaking about an unsolved mystery where the families of the victim have never truly ever been able to get their closure, it just feels somewhat disgusting. It cheapens their personal experience. And then to add insult to injury, when she was questioned by NPR in a podcast about her introduction to mukbangs and true crime, she talks about her first ever mukbang and true crime crossover that became extremely popular, where she ate the last meals of Ted Bundy before he was eventually executed. It seems as if in this interview she acknowledges that she may have somewhat glorified the killer, but even knowing all that and admitting it to the world, she still hasn't taken a video down from YouTube.
Can you talk a little bit about like the first episode or first time you feel like it really turned, like which murder story or which particular crime story it was that then got a big reaction and it kind of took off for you?
It was probably the Ted Bundy one.
This is the story of Ted Bundy. Now,
okay, that one was it was a very questionable video in an interesting way.
You've been questioned before, and yet you were not arrested. And
Say more.
Like I ate the last foods that Ted Bundy ate before he was executed. I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable, not because I think execution's funny. Yeah.
Well, it's his last meal, right? It was essentially you ate Ted Bundy's last meal as kind of the hook for why to talk about Ted Bundy.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a good segue because I can't just be like, hey guys, so I'm eating Chick-fil-A, but like Ted Bundy. So
now, I don't believe that Stephanie So's decision to present true crime in such a way is rooted in malice, but I believe that she understands the implications of working in this way and has proactively chosen money over handling these stories with professionalism and care. So you're probably asking yourself,
is that it, Paige? Is true crime awful and there's just no way for us to consume it?
Not exactly. So, to conclude, I don't begrudge true crime fans their shows, and I'm not here to tell you that you are a bad person if you personally enjoy true crime. I just wish that the audience and the creators of these shows would give a little bit of extra thought to how the victim at the heart of this story is treated in the telling. Are they treated like a human being who had more life to live, with people who love them, who will never be the same due to their loss? Or are they reduced to a gory crime scene photo or a plot point in a story about a person, the murderer, who does not deserve anybody's attention or fascination? What it comes down to is the powerlessness of the families in this situation to have any kind of control over the events that shape their lives. The culture that we live in and our fascination with crime means that somebody can film a video or make a podcast or a docu-series, can make money from somebody else's life and death and then be applauded for it. And in the middle of all of this, we have the families and the loved ones coming to terms with the death itself. The PR and social media build up with the sleepless nights and the tearful mornings. Meanwhile, those who created content surrounding the murderous crime are being congratulated for a brilliant production or an interesting one-dimensional take. And then we have the reality of the loved ones being left with grief in the wake of it. The insensitivity of intrusion is proportionate to the trauma that it causes. The reality of murder doesn't have eerie music and close-ups. It's just devastation and sorrow. First for the victims of murder themselves, then for the justice system that strips them of all control, and then finally a completely unnecessary sensationalization of events in the aftermath. The truth is replaced with whatever has been embellished and rewritten for entertainment. People grieving due to murder have no voice, and yet some content creators continue to exploit them and the families for monetary gain, for entertainment. The vulnerable don't get to have the basic human right to privacy. And I believe that the victims and their families should have more options to express their voice and have more rights over how their story is told and the narrative presented of their loved ones. Now, of course, we have some amazing content creators out here who are creating great true crime content. Kendall Ray is doing a tremendous job, and she brings in a lot of the families and people and victims involved to talk about their experiences with her audience if they are willing, and tries her best to present true crime in the most factual way that she possibly can amongst other true crime content creators. But she's the top of straight, undiluted, victim focused true crime content. And of course there are people out there like that, but there are others who aren't. So does the fondness for immersing ourselves in true crime actually open up new possibilities for meaningful participation in the process of social justice? And should palatable true crime be up for public consumption? Whether we are eating with a content creator, laughing with a podcast, or blending with our favorite babe, these people were so much more than victims. They were brothers, aunts, uncles, sisters, nieces, nephews, mothers, fathers. They were somebody to somebody. If we can shift the energy within the community from amateur detective work and more towards informed educational criticism of the judicial system, then the people who enjoy true crime can positively impact the world's understanding of justice as a whole. If content creators can fight against the desensitization of murder and instead refocus on the human element of these stories, then maybe they can honor the real human beings at the center of it. Because at the end of the day, we have the privilege of knowing who these people were, allowing ourselves to be informed and safe, and having our loved ones, something that people who knew the victims no longer have. But you know, stay sexy and don't get murdered. Or more to the point, stay safe, be vigilant, and weaponize with knowledge, as it's up to us as viewers not to become the deadly problem with true crime. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for listening to my video essay on this. I hope I didn't come off really preachy. I wasn't trying to be preachy to people. If you enjoy true crime, go have at it. I'm not out here to be the true crime police. It's just a couple of things it is that I felt and a couple of things it is that I saw, and I just feel like we really need to regenerate and become more victim focused and not so focused on the individuals who are creating these murderous, disastrous crimes. I just want to say a massive thank you to all of my Patreons. Thank you so much for joining the Patreon family. I feel so good to be creating content over there. Thank you so much to the members on YouTube. I'm creating great content over here too, as well as thank you to the Twitch family for all of your patience, but also for, you know, inspiring me with new topics each week. I really appreciate the relationship it is that we have. If you would like to be a part of any of these communities, I will leave the links to all of it in the description down below. Once again, I want to say thank you so much for the new growth on this channel. I really appreciate it. We are edging so close to 200,000 subscribers, a place that I have never been. So I just want to say thank you for all of your support, and until next time, you beautiful, amazing, badass bitches. It's been Paige. Bye. Bye.